Hey guys, I don't know if you've heard about this review that was written for Nexus Point News. It was written by an author named Christopher Mills, and the review itself is positive, he says that he likes the show or whatever, but everybody's been looking at this one little paragraph that's kind of buried in there. I'm gonna just go ahead and read it out for you, and then afterwards we'll kind of get into the discussion of it. But okay, it says, Monarch Legacy of Monsters Season 2 doesn't just feature Godzilla, Kong, and Titan X, but there are other monsters that both Monarch and Apex have to tackle, with a nice surprise thrown in for fans that will absolutely break the internet and have everyone prepared for the future of this show, its prequels, and the overall future of the franchise. So, it sounds like we have a pretty big cameo coming. I'm skeptical, very skeptical, honestly, mainly because I haven't really heard any other reviews mention anything like this. This is kind of the only one that I've seen say this. But, we're going to dive into it today, and I'm just going to talk about who I think it could be, who I definitely think it won't be, and also some other options that are just probably going to disappoint people. So that's a pretty loaded statement, break the internet. Like that's pretty big. I don't honestly, if you ask me, I don't think there's any chance that anything in Monarch would have the potential to break the internet. I think you could break the Godzilla subreddit, maybe you could break the Monsterverse subreddit, which is actually a pretty nice subreddit. Everybody in there is pretty cool. But I don't really think that there's anything that Monarch could do that could break the internet at large. You know what I mean? But I'm going to go through 5 different options. And these aren't, specifically one monster or another. These are just 5 different things that I think it could be. All right? So, starting off, I'm going to start this by saying that the 5th and least likely option would be what I would call a long shot Titan. And this is what everybody wants. Everybody wants it to be some old Toho Titan from, or I guess the Toho monsters aren't really called Titans, are they? But they expect it to be Anguirus or Gigan or something like that. And that'd be so cool, man. We all want that. We all would love it to be, some secret Biolante cameo that's just gonna pop up out of nowhere. But guys, it's not gonna happen. I don't think this is it. I think this is the furthest from being a possibility. Toho is just very, very protective of their assets. They're very protective of their monsters. And this is maybe a hot take, but I don't think a lot of the Toho monsters outside of the Big 5 and even in the Big 5 have really proven to be that successful for the Monsterverse. And I'm not going to say that I don't like obviously the Big 5. All of the Big 5 have been great, but I think it's Godzilla and Kong as a tag team that have been raking in the dough, so to speak. That's what's a big seller. I don't think for the average person, Biolante is going to be this huge, it's going to be worth it for Legendary to spend a bunch of money to get the rights or make some sort of crazy deal with Toho to secure Biolante for their TV show. You know what I mean? And maybe it could be a cameo for a future project, but I just don't see it. I don't think Biolante, Anguirus, Gigan, any of these, characters that aren't in the Big 5, I don't think they're going to show up. Okay, so let's go into number 4. I think something that's still not very likely, but is maybe more of a possibility. I'm just thinking of the term break the internet here. Maybe a crossover, Maybe it's a Monsterverse / Pacific Rim crossover. Maybe we'd see one of the actors from Pacific Rim or Kaiju from, or Jaeger from Pacific Rim. Maybe. I have no idea how they could possibly make those two universes coalesce with each other. I don't really think it's a possibility, honestly, but maybe. I've seen a lot of people kind of say that online. They're like, "Oh, what if it's a Pacific Rim Monsterverse crossover? That'd break the internet." And yeah, maybe it would. Another one I've seen a lot of people say is Gamera. Maybe Gamera shows up. Maybe it's some sort of Gamera Godzilla. Maybe Gamera joins the Monsterverse, which would be cool because the Monsterverse already consists of these two massive classic monsters, Godzilla and Kong, and Gamera is obviously a little below their pay grade, but people love Gamera, throw him in there, everybody be happy. So I think that's an option. Maybe there's some sort of crossover potential between another franchise and the Monsterverse, and that's what this author's talking about. That's what would, break the internet. You know what I mean? Again, though, I don't really think so. I highly doubt it. I'm sure if Gamera was going to be in the Monsterverse, they wouldn't have been able to keep that a secret. People would have figured it out by now. Same with Pacific Rim. I mean, Pacific Rim, I would not want that. I know everybody's like, oh, Jaegers versus Titans, that'll be so cool. Can you imagine Gypsy Danger versus Godzilla? And, it would be. It'd be really fun to watch that for, 5 minutes, That'd be a really cool fight to watch. But, I don't want the Pacific Rim characters just in the Monsterverse from here on out. I think that would be really strange. Also, just the Pacific Rim universe is so well established. It's its own thing. It's well done. They've put a lot of effort into the world building. I mean, at least in the first one they did. And I just don't see the hype that, like, putting them in the MonsterVerse would really bring or add to either franchise. Okay, for the next option, I've got Space Godzilla. I mean, we know Space Godzilla's coming, right? So, like, this one I could kind of see. Maybe Space Godzilla makes a little appearance. I don't know how that would really work in terms of the timeline, because I'm pretty sure season 2 of Monarch takes place in 2017, so I don't really know where Space Godzilla would show up. I mean, everybody kind of assumes that he's going to come from space, and that would make sense. But there is also, like, the chance that, like, it's another Ghidorah situation where some team or, like, Space Godzilla is contained in some way somewhere. Like, maybe he's contained in some Russian bunker or, like, something like that, right? Maybe we get a look. Maybe somebody at Apex has a look at Space Godzilla, or he pops up on a monitor or something, or it's like, oh, like this meteorite just crashed. Oh, something like that. Maybe Space Godzilla shows up at the end of Monarch. It would make the most sense in terms of, like, the next project coming out is Supernova. We're pretty sure Space Godzilla is going to be in it. They probably already have the rights, and they have everything. They have it worked out in some sort of deal. Maybe we get to see Space Godzilla in Monarch. Just a glimpse of him. Just maybe somebody mentions him. Maybe that could break the internet as far as this person's concerned. Like, that would be a pretty big deal. Space Godzilla, like, he's not in the big five, but he's pretty popular. People like him. There's been a lot of speculation and talk and, just news about Space Godzilla lately because of Supernova. So I could see this, like, breaking the internet, I guess. But I still think it's, like, not very likely. I just don't think it really makes sense with the timeline. Also, there's, like, a lot of red tape, around using Toho monsters. Like, they've done it before for cameos. Like, there was the cave paintings of Ghidorah and Mothra and Rodan at the end of Skull Island. But, like, I know there's still a lot of weird, like, licensing agreements and stuff you have to do in order to use a Toho character in, like, any project. I think they could do it. It's just, like, I don't know if they would, or I don't know if this would be the moment for Space Godzilla's debut. I feel like that would better be served in Supernova. But, stranger things have happened. Actually, no, they haven't. Not in the MonsterVerse anyways, but yeah, maybe it could happen, who knows. Moving on, at our number 2 spot for most likely scenario, I think there's a good chance that it could be a human character. That would be super lame, I'm not gonna lie. Like, if the breaking the internet thing is, like, a big actor, like, showing up, like, then it just sucks, because that's probably, like, it's not probably the case, but it's very likely that that's the case. Like, what if it's, like, Preston Packard, like Samuel L. Jackson's character? Like, there's a lot of time spent I think they're in the late 50s now, right? So, like, I think he dies in 73. So, like, they could maybe have a de-aged Samuel L. Jackson, like, it's Samuel L. Jackson, oh my gosh, he's that big actor, this is totally breaking the internet. You know what I mean? Like, something like that. You could also have maybe Kyle Chandler show up in present day, or Vera Farmiga. I mean, Millie Bobby Brown, I guess, would, like, break the internet if she made a MonsterVerse comeback. Wouldn't want to see that at all. I mean, I don't like any of those characters, if I'm being honest. Actually, I do like Samuel L. Jackson quite a bit. His character was great. But most of the King of the Monsters characters I am not a fan of. So I'm not really itching to see any of them return. But, like, I can understand why, from a film journalist perspective, you would think that could, like, break the internet, right? The main thing that's kind of keeping me from thinking that it's a human is just the fact that this paragraph of text is very, like, Titan-centric. You know what I mean? But there are other monsters that both Monarch and Apex have to tackle, with a nice surprise thrown in for fans. Like, the nice surprise thrown in for fans could really mean anything, but just the fact that they were talking about Titans at the beginning of that sentence, it kind of makes me think that it's going to be a Titan. So let's just go right into my number 1 likelihood that I think is, unfortunately, probably the case. Okay, so I'm not going to say that this article review is poorly written. It's not. It's well written. It's fine. It is what it is. It's good. But my thing with this article, reading it very much feels like someone who's, like, not tapped into the MonsterVerse. You know what I mean? And there's absolutely no problem with that. Like, as a content writer for these websites, like, it's your job to watch a lot of different things. And, like, I was a content writer for a while at a review site, actually. It was not my favorite job, but it is what it is. And, like, you have to watch a lot of stuff, and you have to be tapped into a lot of different, like, fan bases and all these things. And you can tell that this person, as they're writing the beginning, it feels like they're doing research on it. Like, Godzilla is a legendary character that's been around for 70 plus years. 2026, we have more production companies than ever that are trying to make cinematic universes after the success of Marvel. Legendary has something here. I mean, like, I might be reading into it too much, but it really gives the impression of somebody who's been watching these movies and shows kind of passively that's getting themselves up to speed before they start talking about it. You know what I mean? And again, no problem with that. But when I hear that this person in particular thinks that there's a cameo that's going to break the internet, it kind of gives me the impression that they might be talking about a monster that may have already been in one of the movies. Know what I mean? And not that they said that they weren't talking about that. I'm just like, I am like 90% sure that what this person is talking about is just Mechagodzilla. All right? Think about it. Think about everything that's been set up so far. We have Apex. They're playing a huge role in this season. Are we not going to get a Mechagodzilla tease? Why? Like, of course we're going to tease that they're working on Mechagodzilla. They've been working on Mechagodzilla, right? That would make sense. Why else would Apex even be a part of this? So Apex is in the season. The cameo that's going to break the internet. Mechagodzilla is in the Big Five. Every diehard fan knows Mechagodzilla. Every casual knows Mechagodzilla. Everybody loves Mechagodzilla. Mechagodzilla would break the internet, right? Like, it wouldn't, obviously, because Mechagodzilla's already shown up in Godzilla vs. Kong. But maybe to this person who isn't, totally caught up to speed or doesn't totally remember everything that happened in every one of these movies, which is, no fault of their own, maybe they think that Mechagodzilla would break the internet. Know what I mean? Guys, if there's a cameo in this season and it's a monster, I hate that this is the case, but I'm about 99% sure that it's just going to be Mechagodzilla. Like, I don't think we're getting Biollante or Anguirus or Gigan or any of these big Toho like ones that we haven't seen yet, like if we're getting a cameo and a cameo big enough to break the internet, it is either a person and an actor or it's Mechagodzilla. I'm going to die on this hill, okay? So I guess in a few weeks, we'll all see. And if I'm wrong, make sure to berate me in the comments and tell me how much of a fool I am. And also, make sure you guys go and give this article a read because, like I said, it's well written, it's a fun review, and they really liked the show, which is great news for us because it means the next few weeks are probably going to be really good. I'm liking the show so far. I'm sure you guys are liking the show so far. If you like this video, make sure to leave a like, and if you haven't yet, subscribe because, I like talking about Godzilla, and I hope that you guys like listening to me talk about Godzilla. Anyways, thanks for watching the video. I appreciate you guys always. Have a great day.